has just begun, but another problem, which we'll get to, prolonged rainfall could be even worse.
We think that's going to be a tremendous problem before all is said and done, because it's just going to rain and rain over the same area and accumulate a lot of water there, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so saltwater and freshwater flooding. There we could see some of the gusts at the airports, 53 in New Orleans and up to 66 at Pensacola. But again, we have seen that 75 to 80 mile-an-hour gustiness from anywhere from South Pass to Dauphin Island, a little bit offshore.
Right, and those wind instruments are up a little bit higher there, measuring some of those winds a bit stronger.
Maybe we can take a look at the track forecast and see what the most likely path is for this storm right now, as it's been adjusted a little bit toward the right of previous tracks.
Well, it's going to be a very, very slow affair here. It's supposed to take the better part of 24 hours to even get inland at all and still be a Category 2 by tomorrow afternoon. But after that, as it makes its way up farther, its forecast reduced down to a tropical storm, but still might carry a lot of rain with it. The rain is not going to diminish after the winds do after landfall.
As we can see on our radar, we do have the potential of a lot of rain and even some flooding on that radar. And we're looking at that eye of the storm only moving very slowly northward, and some squally weather with those very high winds. So the threat of flooding a very real problem right now.
And that's going to be increasing over the next couple of days with a very slow movement and heavy rainfall rates.
So that threat of flooding, of course, this is imminent now. Some folks are already getting an awful lot of flooding. Go to higher ground if you haven't yet, and just don't mess around. Don't walk through the floodwaters or have the children anywhere near the streams, as the flooding could come in very fast and that rainfall rate very fast as well. We've already also had the threat of tornadoes. In fact, there's a tornado warning in effect right now in Baldwin County in southwest Alabama until 6:45 Central. Not that a tornado has been spotted, but on the fringes of the hurricane, we do have that threat of tornadoes in there.
And that's where they are likely to be, is on the fringes, not down so much where the core of the hurricane is.
So potential wind damage from hurricane force winds, the flooding from the rainfall, and that storm surge, which may be coming up to higher than 10 feet in some areas.
Well, the storm surge causes us the most immediate concern because that causes more fatalities than any other aspects of the hurricane.
Right. Well, that probably is yet to come in some areas.
Oh, yes, I think so.
During times of high tide, mostly.
And also when the center of the hurricane approaches the coast.
Right. It's just painstaking. It's slow, but it really hasn't gotten there yet.
It has not.
Thanks a lot, John. John Hope, our tropical expert, who will be back with us later. If you are not watching your TV set, if you're glued to the internet, it's weather.com for the latest on Georges and other weather areas. You can even go into more depth on weather.com than anywhere else. Now back to the studio with more.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Severe weather threatens the greater New York City area this evening. We've got a line of storms pushing toward the southeast at about 35 miles per hour. As a matter of fact, just along the Hudson River, Orange County, New York, a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. And these have had a history of producing hail, so heads up in New York, especially driving northward and toward the west. In fact, as we look at the big picture across the country, the threat of severe thunderstorms continues through early tomorrow morning. That's what that area of yellow indicates. We've already seen severe weather around Johnstown, Pennsylvania. We saw hail an inch in diameter and very gusty winds, many trees and power lines down. Also, tornadoes threaten the south central coast of the country, the Gulf of Mexico, because of Georges. But the main trigger point across the nation's heartland in the northeast is a cold front. And we've had record highs today, by the way, in the nation's mid-Atlantic region. And with that warm air coming up and that cold front coming to greet it, we've seen a lot of severe weather. Niagara Falls, New York, hail the size of tennis balls, and just generally a lot of messy weather. Coos County in New Hampshire, you're under severe thunderstorm warning right now, and this remains our trouble spot through noon tomorrow. Again, it's the classic case of a cold front running into unusually hot temperatures, and so I-87, I-81, any areas in red here indicate the chance of more severe weather. You saw New York. This is the area north of New York in the lower Hudson Valley. I-87 getting into the eastern part of Pennsylvania. We still have severe thunderstorm cells moving toward the east. Here's the big picture. There's the outline of the front. Here's Hurricane Georges, and also some wet weather in the northern part of California, where the rain's been coming down pretty heavily. In southeastern New Mexico, severe weather's been rumbling. But we've got a big trough in the west. That's why we're looking at more cool temperatures, but hot in the south central part of the country. In the northeast, starting off your morning, 67 in New York as you drive to work, 68 in Boston. No rain to deal with. That's good. In the southeast, though, a different story. Wet and windy. New Orleans, 78 degrees in the morning. It's going to be a dangerous drive, so you if you've got to drive, you just got to take it easy on the roadway. 54 in Chicago, no wet weather, but wet weather in Kansas City a possibility. Sunshine in Phoenix, 71 degrees. Telecommunications for the Weather Channel live reports are provided in part by Bell South. We'll have more on Hurricane George, but first up, travel-wise.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
When Hurricane Fran hit down here, it pretty much destroyed the Carolina coastline. We work in a marina. We were so busy helping our customers get their boats out of the water that we didn't have time to board up our house.
We've got a lot of windows in this house.
We went over to Lowe's and it was very late. Brian, the manager, let us in and helped us get all the supplies that we needed to board up our house. He was a real lifesaver.
And house saver, too.
Thanks, Lowe's, and thanks to Brian.
Glad we can help.
Relax, kick back, rest easy. Not the first thoughts that come to mind when investing on your own. But working with our financial advisors, you'll feel differently.
Every client's ambition should be our ambition. Their dreams, our dreams.
Isn't it reassuring to know that whatever your goals in a complex world, someone will be looking out for you?
We measure success, one investor at a time.
It's time for TravelWise, the purpose of this segment to help you get to where you're going with plenty of knowledge about the weather conditions. And if you're going to be traveling, running errands, just driving from one part of the city to another in New York City, do know there's some severe weather to your west and northwest, and the threat of more through early tomorrow morning, perhaps impacting your travels. We think in New York City, a lot of the storms will be out by early tomorrow morning. Nonetheless, in this area in Pennsylvania and the lower Hudson Valley, getting into the southern part of New England, the threat of severe weather through early tomorrow morning. Also, with Hurricane George agonizingly slowly moving toward the north, the threat of tornadoes, especially in the northwestern quadrant, persists. There's a look at Hurricane George, the eye still offshore, heavy amounts of rain possible, therefore leading to flooding, high surge. We've seen waves 33 feet high, and we've seen a 74-mile-per-hour wind gust in some barrier islands just off the Alabama coast. Otherwise, some strong storms. It's the same front from the northeast all the way back down into the Midwest and the southern plains, producing some rough weather getting into Kansas, and also a spinning low in Northern California, and the associated wet weather taking it through midnight tonight for some more wet weather, a possibility. But it's along this front where we could not only see wet weather, but we could see storms, and severe ones at that. So please be careful. Coos County, New Hampshire, severe weather a possibility. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning. Orange County, New York, a severe thunderstorm warning right now. And across the western part of the front, severe weather possible and in association with George. Not only the severe weather, but the winds. And we've seen winds on the order of 50 to 55 miles per hour around New Orleans, and still plenty of gusts possible. There's a look at our wet weather in the northeast, but as time goes on during the day, looking better. New York 77, Boston 70, no rainfall later. Wet weather, it could be copious amounts and windy in New Orleans at 83 degrees. Wet in Nashville, too. Midwest looking good in Chicago, 76. Stay with us.
They are the most environmentally vulnerable of all living things. To commit to their future is to commit to ours. Southern Company, America's largest generator of electricity, is planting 20 million trees and pioneering the use of electric vehicles, all in a commitment to cleaner air. So as they take flight into the future, we'll be down here, helping to keep the environment clean and the power on. We are Southern Company, energy to serve your world.
Sports cars are great if you're into leather and chrome. But let's hope you're not into wood. Presenting Sonoma by GMC. Vortec power and a choice of 4 different tuned suspensions to make sure you never get bored. Load up a great value at the GMC 98 sell-down with $2,000 cash back or 0.9% APR financing on 98 Sonomas. Just one of the many great 98 sell-down values at your GMC dealer today.
Do you have trouble driving in the rain? Is the glare unbearable at night? That's why STP created Vision Blade glass treatment. Vision Blade forms an invisible barrier that repels water and virtually eliminates glare. It applies in minutes, and it lasts for 6 months. This muddy water sticks to the glass on the untreated side. But with Vision Blade, the dirt and grime sheets away, and your view remains clear. And now Vision Blade is available in 2 sizes to meet all drivers' needs. See what you've been missing with Vision Blade.
Dogs have an uncanny sense of hearing, but they can't tell you if running, climbing, or even walking hurts or makes them stiff. So it's up to you. To help keep your dog active and healthy, ask your veterinarian how Rimadyl has relieved arthritis pain for more than 500,000 dogs. As with other pain relievers in this class, digestive and liver side effects may occur. Available by prescription only.
Hello? Yes, sir. Yes.
Can't get enough peanuts?
Get right on it. Goodbye, sir.
Get a payday. Sweet caramel and tons of salty peanuts.
After 30 years of dirt and 30 years of cleaning, Moen's Life Shine finish with titanium will look as good as it did 30 years ago. Life Shine by Moen. Buy it for looks. Buy it for life.
You can also get reliable forecasts from the Weather Channel through this radio station. Don't be unprepared for Hurricane George. Stay with the Weather Channel. We'll have the up-to-the-minute details on this dangerous storm on Weather Center every hour and half hour.
Do your nasal allergies make you feel like a prisoner? Do you feel trapped indoors, especially when there's so much you want to do outdoors? Nasacort AQ nasal spray lets you take control of your nasal allergies. Nasacort AQ is a once-a-day prescription medication that goes to work right where the problem is to relieve stuffiness and runny nose. Call 1-800-762-1020 for a free allergy relief fact kit, including product information about Nasacort and a $5 rebate offer. Take control. Take Nasacort. Nasacort is non-drowsy and non-habit-forming. It has a low incidence of side effects, including headache, sore throat, nosebleed, and increased cough. Results were similar in tests with non-medicated inhalers. For best results, Nasacort must be used daily. Maximum relief may take several days. Nasacort is also available as a nasal inhaler. For more information, see your healthcare professional. Call now for product information and a $5 rebate offer.
I think that people have a fascination with the weather, just like we do. And they want to get our insight into why the weather is doing what it's doing. We even show pictures.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Welcome to the Tropical Update and Storm Watch, which is brought to you by Home Depot. We're going to be talking about Hurricane George as it threatens the central Gulf Coast, also focusing on a cold front, which is bringing the threat of severe weather a little later. But right now, Hurricane George, as of 6 o'clock Central Time, still a strong Category 2 hurricane. It would take just 1 mile per hour to make it a major hurricane, but we haven't seen any strengthening. The pressures have fallen somewhat over the past, several hours, but not enough to cause the winds to increase very dramatically at all around the center of circulation. One key characteristic of Hurricane George is its very slow movement toward the north at 8 miles per hour, and that's why we are very concerned about very heavy rain and flooding, because as you know, the slower the movement of a storm system, be it a hurricane or something, an extratropical system, a mid-latitude cyclone, is the more chances, the greater amount of time it has to deposit heavy amounts of rain. But right now, we're looking at hurricane warnings in the areas outlined by red. That stretches from Panama City, Florida to Morgan City, Louisiana. A warning means that over the next 24 hours, and perhaps in this case sooner than later in this 24-hour period, hurricane conditions are expected. As a matter of fact, already at Dauphin Island, just off of a barrier island off the coast of Alabama, we've seen an 82-mile-per-hour wind gust. So that's definitely a hurricane condition. And another sidebar, another characteristic of hurricanes as they make landfall are the possibility of spawning tornadoes, especially in the northeastern quadrant. We've already seen tornado activity in Baldwin County, Alabama. That warning has expired, but we still have the threat of tornadoes in this area of red. And also flooding. We could see 10, 12, 15 inches, perhaps 20 inches of rain, depending on how slowly Hurricane George moves. So major flooding concerns exist in this area. There's a look at the rainfall. There's New Orleans, and there's the heavy rain bands along the tightly packed areas just to the north of the eye of Hurricane George. You can see, we could see again, it's not out of the question if this slows down further that we could see 15, 20 inches of rain in some locales. So just keep it posted here on the Weather Channel. Very heavy rain coming down now, especially in these areas of yellow. There's a look at Hurricane George. There's the eye. At times this afternoon, it's been a little more defined or a little more visible than others. But in the northeastern quadrant, that's usually the area of the most intensity, and we're concerned about the storm surge. That kills more people, actually, on average, than hurricane winds. And with New Orleans and many areas along the mouth of the Mississippi being below sea level, we're concerned about that high wall of water coming in. There's other news besides George. We also have Hurricane Carl, that's Carl, and Hurricane Jean. Hurricane Carl still has winds of 80 miles per hour moving toward the east-northeast at 38 miles per hour, but not a factor in terms of the U.S. It is moving away from the United States. Hurricane Jean, winds of also 80 miles per hour. It'll get picked up by the westerlies. You know how our systems generally move from the west to east in the continental U.S.? That's because we're that far north. When you get to these latitudes, lower latitudes, they move from the east-west because of the trade winds. In this case, it's so far north, we're going to start seeing that push toward the east as well, away from the U.S. Right now, moving north, but we'll probably start taking a more northeasterly turn in time. Now, here's the cold front, which has been causing us big problems just ahead of it. We've seen tennis ball size hail in Niagara Falls. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings in effect in New England and the Northeast, for example, Orange County north of New York City, and also some wet weather in the northern part of California. But the threat of severe weather persists through early tomorrow morning ahead of that front where we've seen record highs. So you're combining a Canadian air mass coming down, and then it's meeting up with these record highs in juicy air, so you've got a clash of the air masses right in here, and this is due to George. But we do have the threat of severe weather getting into the New York City area. We'll be keeping you updated on this as time goes on. Right now in Orange County, a severe thunderstorm warning along the Hudson River. Stay tuned for more on Hurricane George.
Hurricane George hasn't made landfall yet, but it's already pounding parts of the Gulf Coast. The very latest conditions, plus your weather ahead on Weather Center.
This program was sponsored by the Home Depot.
When a weather disaster strikes, someone's always there to help. The Weather Channel and the American Red Cross urge you to help families in need of disaster relief. Because of you, someone will always be there.
Each time a disturbance comes off the coast of Africa, we follow that until it develops into a storm or dissipates or whatever it does.
We can give you as much advance warning as possible.
That way you're prepared and you're safe out of harm's way.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Hurricane George is bearing down on the Gulf Coast. Residents from Louisiana to Florida are preparing for the worst. And in the Northeast, we have been following a line of severe thunderstorms this evening. The latest information on that situation is just minutes away. Good evening, I'm Warren Madden.
And I'm Kristina Abernathy. We begin this half hour with the latest on George. And for that, we go to Mike Seidel in the Forecast Center.
And Hurricane George is battering the Gulf Coast tonight. High winds, big waves, tropical rainfalls, and this situation will continue into Monday, maybe into Tuesday, as the hurricane now begins to slow down and it may be intensifying. We'll have a full update and we'll get some expert analysis from John Hope coming up, plus live reports. First, though, let's show you what the Hurricane Center is telling us as of 7 Central. And you can see the track of George, almost a straight line from its beginnings 10 days ago. 10 days ago. Winds now sustained at 110 miles an hour. It is moving very slowly, north-northwest at 8, and it is southeast of New Orleans. If you're plotting at home, 29.3 north, 88.5 west. And the hurricane warnings remain unchanged. These are the areas where we've already had evacuations. Take a look all the way from Morgan City over towards New Orleans, the Mississippi Delta over towards Mobile, Biloxi, Gulfport, Pensacola, as far east as Panama City. East of there, we have a tropical storm warning, and then west of Morgan City over to Intracoastal City, we have a hurricane watch. And we've had live reports all weekend as we've seen the hurricane move ever so close to the Gulf Coast, and we have team coverage tonight. Jim Cantore is on the Gulf Coast in Gulfport. He just recently moved to get out of harm's way. Kristin Dodd is in Pensacola, and we'll start it off with Bill Keneely tonight. Bill is in New Orleans, and tonight, Bill, those of you in New Orleans are certainly boarded up, ready for the worst, but so far, just some wind and rain.
That is correct, Mike. We continue to have that north wind, and it's a very important direction because it is not allowing that Gulf of Mexico water to get up into Lake Bourne nor Lake Pontchartrain. But that said, there's still a lot of high surf out there. Let's show you some pictures from the Lake Pontchartrain South Shore. These were shot about 5 miles northwest of here, over there by the causeway, and they'll show the crashing surf coming down. It looks like it built up a little mini surge over the lake, too. No video? All right, tell you what we'll do then. I want to just talk about what's going on here. We've had a thunderstorm rock the area in the last 20 minutes. That rain has let up considerably, but still. All right, we've got the video now showing the activity of earlier today in the daylight hours, and that was a very strong north wind, gusting at times 40 to 55 miles per hour, whipping up some very large waves and bringing in some water across the Lakeshore Drive. It did not breach any of the levee system set up there, but nonetheless, it was fairly high surf at the time. So we're in pretty good shape here. We should hold the north wind. Folks in Biloxi and also into Pensacola, not near as lucky as they are on the right side of the hurricane. And let's get a report now from Kristin Dodd in Pensacola.
Oh, Bill, you really said it. We're not as lucky as you are at this hour, as we are being hit by torrential downpours and very strong winds. I am standing in downtown Pensacola, and behind me is the 3-mile bridge, one of the bridges that leads over to the barrier islands. That now has been shut down. We are not allowing any traffic over, as we have seen hurricane force gusts here in Pensacola in the past couple of hours. The rain has been a huge problem, well over 5 inches of rain in many areas. Also just the waves coming in from the bay. We have many roads flooded throughout downtown Pensacola. The beaches are even getting more of the brunt of this storm. We have reports of many roads just being washed out, a lot of the waves having now washed over the roads and are undermining many of the homes. Folks that we talked to here who lived through Erin and Opal, they say that this is much worse because we're getting a combination of everything, the heavy, heavy rain, very strong winds, the storm surge, and also the very, very high crashing waves. Back to you.
All right, Kristin, we're in Gulfport, Mississippi here. We moved in from Biloxi, and I want to show you, as we look down the street here, truly only the vehicles that should be out tonight are police vehicles. There is a curfew out tonight here in Harrison County. No one should be on the road. As you can see, we still have power. We are sustained at tropical storm force, occasionally gusting 60, possibly 65 miles an hour, but not yet. And a lot of the signage is still here. But folks, think about this. If we get to 75 miles an hour, you are going to see a lot of these signs go, and possibly the power as well. So the police definitely helping to man the roads tonight, and they're doing a great job doing so. Let's take our storm cam shot. You're looking across the street, and you can see here how the signage and the stop signs are swaying with the wind. Very, very strong, and again, sustained out of the northeast right now. And occasionally we'll get that monster gust that comes through anywhere from 60 to 65 miles an hour. Looks like a rough night here in Gulfport, Mississippi. Back to you.
Okay, Jim, thanks for the update. Jim Cantore of the Weather Channel in Gulfport. And as you saw, he's getting wet and getting blown around. Kristin Dodd getting hammered. And we want to go to Louisiana right now. Lieutenant Mike Evanson of the Louisiana State Police has an update on road closures. We heard earlier, Lieutenant, that a lot of the roads east of New Orleans are shut down, and for good reason.
That's exactly right. What we're looking at now is we're watching the weather coming into the New Orleans area. And if getting into or out of the New Orleans area is impossible at the time, we've got it shut down. It's 7 o'clock curfew in the New Orleans area. We've got some troopers that are up on some of the raised portions of the interstate passing through there, and we've got some wind gusts in excess of 55 miles an hour that have been reported to us. So we've got a lot of wind. We know the rain's coming. You're looking at some video now of around the Lake Pontchartrain area and some of the waves we got there. You know, you have New Orleans that is under sea level, about 3 feet below sea level. So the problem we've got with the rain and stuff that can come into the New Orleans area on just some heavy rain. So with the hurricane force winds and rain coming in, that poses an even more of a problem there. We've got all our troopers that are out working that would normally be off. We've got about 180 troopers in the area between Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and of course we're monitoring, and we're going to be continuing monitoring throughout the night.
Okay, Lieutenant, we appreciate the update. Lieutenant Mike Evanson of the Louisiana State Police. Again, the interstates north and east of New Orleans have been closed. So, again, heed the advice, stay home, and don't ignore the curfew. Let's bring in our hurricane expert now, John Hope, who we've been following this, it seems like, I went on vacation, we had the hurricane. I'm back now, and it's still here, and it's slowing down. That is not good news tonight.
It's been a hurricane, I think, for nearly 10 days. And, yes, it is slowed down quite a bit, but some perceptible movement, though, toward the north. I don't think it's ever stopped altogether. It's getting edging up a little bit closer to the Mississippi coast there, and we're seeing rather considerable pressure falls up here around Gulfport and Biloxi.
Does that have you concerned as far as intensification?
Well, maybe, but we have thought a few other times that this hurricane was intensifying. It looked sometimes like it's going to on satellite pictures for 2 or 3 hours, and then we wind up right back where we were. And essentially, we haven't had any change in the maximum wind speed now for over 24 hours.
That's some promising news, but the fact that it's slowing down means a lot of rainfall, the risk of flooding, and this is a serious situation if it sits here for a couple of days.
Well, it is, and it's serious anyway, because as it edges up toward Mississippi there along and to the right of where that center crosses the coast, we expect to have a considerable storm surge. we're talking about something in the order of 15 feet perhaps.
Let's take a look at the rainfall now and get an idea once again where the eye is sitting in the very slow movement of the hurricane. But notice something we've seen over the past couple of hours is the fact that the eye wall on the south and southwest side has wrapped around the center.
That's the first time we've seen an eye where the heavy precipitation is wrapped all the way around. And it's done that just in the last hour or two. We'll be anxious to see if that persists.
And it's very obvious just looking here, putting a point there, that the hurricane is barely moving. Meanwhile, a lot of rain's wrapping in. We have a tornado watch for this entire area. And the big concern, once again, John, will be tropical rainfalls for a couple of days, high winds, storm surge, and there's really no silver lining at this point.
That's enough right there, isn't it?
That's enough on the plate right now.
It is.
Of course, John and I will keep you updated throughout the night. Stu Oscar will be joining us a little later on, and of course our live coverage from the Gulf Coast to give you those very windy and wet pictures as George approaches the coastline. Meanwhile, if you're away from your TV set, you can always check us out at the Weather Channel online service at weather.com. Now, more with the studio. We've got the latest on those severe thunderstorms in the Northeast. Here's Warren Madden.
Thanks very much, Mike. This edition of Weather Center is sponsored by Travelers Insurance. Away from the hurricane, we are talking about a powerful cold front moving through the Northeast and through the Ohio River Valley and into the Plain States. Anywhere along this, pretty much, we could see severe weather, and we have been seeing severe weather. We're going to concentrate on what's happening now in the northeastern United States into the Ohio River Valley. Severe thunderstorms tonight in central Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, seeing gusts up to 60 miles an hour not too long ago. We do have severe thunderstorm watches covering pretty much the entire state of Pennsylvania and reaching into Connecticut, where area around New London and heading over into southwestern parts of Rhode Island under severe thunderstorm warnings. Here is the line reaching from New England back into Ohio. I wanted to close in a bit here into the New England area. Some very strong storms here along the coast of Connecticut. Bridgeport reporting wind gusts up over 40 miles an hour in some cases. And again, around New London and heading in toward the Newport, Rhode Island area, watch out for some powerful thunderstorms heading in your direction. Let's check out what's going to be happening as we go into the day on your Monday with Kristina.
And here we go with those Monday low temperatures. Cool in the west, a little milder in the southeast, and watch out as we head through the day on your Monday. We'll be watching this front, we'll be watching George, and we'll also be watching an area of low pressure here in the west. So you can see where the rain is going to be, you can see where the front's going to be. A lot of wet weather here, torrential amounts of rain expected here with our hurricane, and we will, as we head back to the west, continue to see some wet weather here. But locally, 10 inches or more possible here with our hurricane, with George, so that's definitely enough to cause some big-time problems. In some areas, we'll see substantially more rain than that. Here are your high temperatures on Monday in the 80s and 90s for a good chunk of the country, a little cooler in the northwest and the northeast.
Telecommunications for the Weather Channel Live reports are provided in part by Bell South.
We'll stay with us for continuous coverage of Hurricane George.
But first, you could be in for a rough ride if you're traveling into New York City. Details are next on TravelWise.
This program is sponsored by Travelers Property Casualty and Travelers Life and Annuity.
My company spends $1 on coffee and $1 on workers' comp insurance. And the insurance guys use our dollar to build this incredible system with computers and nurses and doctors. So if one of my guys wipes out on the job, he gets all the help he needs. He gets checked out faster, and he's back on his feet in no time, which is great because he can get right back into his old routine. You know, work, sleep, coffee, that kind of thing.
In a long history of exceptional cars from Audi. The Audi A6.
Time now for TravelWise, which is sponsored by Michelin. First, a quick look at Hurricane George here. We see it moving very slowly here, not too far from the coast, though. This is the latest coordinates, 29.3 north, 88.5 west. That puts the center about 115 miles east-southeast of New Orleans, winds 110 miles per hour, north-northwestward movement at 7. And of course, we'll have more details on Hurricane George at the bottom of the hour, so stay with us for that. Right now, look at those airport arrival delays. You can see those as we head into the northeastern U.S. as well as along the Gulf Coast, but delays LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark. We've got plenty of wet weather out there in the northeast. As a matter of fact, we've got some big-time storms rumbling through as well. And, of course, here to the south with Hurricane George, plenty of rain here. It's going to continue to fall. Torrential amounts of rain expected, as well as the threat for severe weather. We have a tornado watch in effect here. Severe thunderstorm watches in effect to the north. So wet weather in all of these areas, and of course here to the south, flooding is expected, so those flood watches in effect for parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and the panhandle of Florida. In the northeast, you'll run into some slippery roadways here. Watch out for that. Tomorrow, New York, a high of 77, 80 in Philadelphia, partly cloudy skies. Of course, again, the torrential rains expected with Hurricane George. That includes you in New Orleans, rainy, windy conditions. We may also see some wet weather to the north in Atlanta and maybe as far north as Nashville, getting some showers. Chicago looking pretty good for you, and should be a nice day on your Monday, a high of 76 under partly cloudy skies. And to the west we go. Most folks here will have quiet weather, but you will have some rain, we think, in northern California, and maybe some thunderstorms around for San Francisco. You'll want to watch out for that. So again, storms, some of those could be strong or even severe. The areas shaded in red is where we think the greatest threat of severe weather exists, and of course those isolated tornadoes possible here to the south. Look out for fog, reducing your visibility. Some areas along the west coast, also the Appalachians, and of course those windy conditions associated with George. Well, stay tuned. We've got your weekly planner coming up next. Don't go away.
This program was sponsored by Michelin. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
For 100 years, Biff, the Michelin Man, has symbolized the Michelin spirit, our never-ending quest to invent the best tires in the world. Tires to help you get where you're going, in comfort and confidence, with peace of mind. Michelin, celebrating 100 years of innovation, because so much is riding on your tires.
Find Michelin tires at this dealer near you, because so much is riding on your tires.
My cat is my life. Some people say it's because I'm middle-aged and single, but I say it's because my Mr. Boots is quite a decorator. Once, I saw one of his huge fur balls and thought, what a beautiful shade of beige. It'll look great on my deck. Nice. So I took it to True Value. Can you match this? Then she created a perfect match. There you go. Thank you. I let her keep the fur ball. We want to keep that color to ourselves.
Live it. See it. Taste it. Shop it. Read it. Call it. Save it. Buy it. To live New York and make the most of New York, you have to read New York. Call now and get 25 issues of New York Magazine for 4 easy installments of only $4.99. That's just 80 cents an issue. You'll save 73% off the cover price. Call now and you'll also get New York Magazine's Best Bet Shopping Guide and the new Restaurant Guide for the best shopping and dining in New York, and they're both free. Live it, see it, taste it, shop it, buy it. 7 days a week, 7,000 new things, and only one magazine keeps you up to the minute. Call now to order New York Magazine, the magazine for the center of the world. Call now to get 25 issues of New York Magazine for just 80 cents an issue, and the 2 guides are yours free.
Call 1-800-583-8833 now. That's 1-800-583-8833 for New York Magazine.
What's the weather going to be like where you're traveling to tomorrow? Find out with a wake-up call from 1-900-WEATHER. Call 1-900-WEATHER, 95 cents a minute from a touch-tone phone.
It's only a little scratch.
Here a scratch, there a scratch, everywhere a scratch, and they're all an eyesore. What you need is GS27 Scratch Remover. It's new from Duralube. GS27 gets rid of those surface scratches and paint swirls quickly and easily. Simply rub it into the scratch, then polish to a beautiful finish. The scratch is gone. GS27 is not an abrasive, and it works wonders on any color. Would you do this to a brand new car? Ouch! But GS27 removes that ugly scratch quickly and easily. It'll even remove paint scrapes and unsightly rust. GS27 is only $14.95. But order now and get a second tube for only $5. That's two for just $19.95. Order now.
Call 1-800-799-6226 or send check or money order for $14.95 for one or $19.95 for two plus $5.95 shipping to GS27, 1000 Apex Street, Department GS, Nashville, Tennessee.
The Weather Channel is brought to you by this cable or satellite provider. Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Coming up, get the forecast for the next 7 days in your weekly planner.
When you combine Reese's Peanut Butter Cups and crispy wafers, the combination is irresistible. Reese Sticks, the crisp you can't resist.
The internet is your window on the world. But without software that protects your internet privacy, the internet is the world's window on you. Guard Dog from Cyber Media. It keeps the web from surfing you.
Time now for our weekly planner. And a look at that jet stream gives us an idea of what we're going to be dealing with. A dip in the jet stream in the western U.S. while we continue to see a ridge across the eastern and southeastern U.S. We're going to see, of course, all eyes on Hurricane George and the wet weather and the battering along the coast and the perhaps extended period of very wet weather across some parts of the southeast as we head through time. And again, we'll be watching the goings-on to the north as well as we head on into your Thursday. Let's take a quick look at where George is right now. Here's the satellite view, and you can see it's a real slow mover. So again, battering the coast here, and no doubt some very heavy amounts of rain are falling and are going to continue to fall, and that's going to cause additional problems too. Here are the latest coordinates. Winds 110 miles per hour, the center about 115 miles east-southeast of New Orleans. Movement to the north-northwest at 7 miles per hour, the pressure 961 millibars. Of course, we'll have more on Hurricane George coming up at the bottom of the hour on Weather Center. You want to stay tuned for that. Now into the forecast we go, and we will see the rain and the wind on Monday associated with George here across parts of Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama, so just a real mess here. And we're also going to see some wet weather really across the southeast. You are going to have the chance at least for unsettled conditions, but certainly we think the worst conditions will be in this area. Isolated storms possible in Texas here, and we'll see some soggy conditions in the west too. The rain still around here on Tuesday. The heavy rain, the very windy conditions, torrential amounts of rain are possible, and unfortunately flooding is going to be a major concern in these areas as well. Watching the system here to the north push on eastward, so two areas we're going to be watching. One associated with this system from the Great Lakes back to the Four Corners region, and then, of course, the rain associated with George and the windy conditions really battering this part of the country. The front continuing to push eastward and sag southward, and the moisture still here, the rain and the thunderstorms in the deep south. So really the southeastern quarter of the country is in for a very wet time here, as the moisture is going to continue to be around. You'll continue to see the rain. We may have some thunderstorms mixed in, so not a nice time for the next several days at least. We think on Thursday it's still going to be rather messy here across the deep south. Anywhere from southern New England back through the mid-south and the deep south on into perhaps Colorado and into New Mexico. You'll have a lot of wet weather to deal with here, and on into Friday. Things quieting down for you in the northeast, but we still have the green on the map in the southeast, so you'll still have the wet weather to contend with. As far as those temperatures, we'll see a few 90s across parts of the Carolinas and into Texas, but for the most part, a lot of 80s out there. Cooler temperatures to the north and in the northwest, although still pretty warm. Not feeling very fall-like for a lot of us out there. Tuesday, more of the same. No real big surprises expected. Of course, where we're going to see the rain and all of the cloud cover and the very heavy rain, we're going to see cooler temperatures for highs. So that's why we see this pocket of 80s here across parts of Mississippi and Louisiana and into Alabama. We will see perhaps those cooler temperatures a bit to the east on your Wednesday, but also notice that behind the system to the north, we're going to see some cooler temperatures here as well, so 50s and 60s for your highs, and we'll see that into the Great Lakes region for Thursday. So it will begin to feel a little more like fall for you, but to the south, still fairly warm, and the same general scenario expected for you on Friday. Those low temperatures are going to be mildest to the south, mild and very muggy, so even during the daytime hours and into the nighttime hours, you won't be able to get rid of that humidity. It's going to be warm. It's going to be rather uncomfortable. To the north and west, though, chilly for you. You'll need the extra blanket and the coat as you head out during the morning hours, because it will be a bit cool. 20s, 30s, and 40s for your lows. Contrast that with those 60s and 70s to the south. And it's going to be even milder, even farther to the north on Wednesday and on into Thursday. Again, we'll see a little bit cooler air moving in behind this front, and that will generally affect the northern tier states for your Friday. So a lot of blue on the map here, but you're going to not get a lot of relief from those warm and muggy temperatures, even during the overnight hours in the south. Well, that's it for your weekly plan. Our time now for our weekend outlook. Of course, we're just ending one weekend. We are ready for the next weekend. And here's what we can expect. Just a bit of climatology to give you an idea of what can typically be expected at this time of year. And 30s and 40s for lows, not at all uncommon to the north. 60s and a few 70s to the south. So our temperatures aren't that far off of the norm, maybe a little warmer than normal. But again, not too far out of line, we're thinking, as we head into the weekend with what you would normally expect at this time of year. High temperatures, well, they may be a tad above average as well. You can typically expect 50s and 60s to the north, 70s and 80s to the south. What about wet weather? Well, we'll have a chance of thunderstorms anywhere from the upper Midwest back to the Gulf Coast on Saturday. We're expecting at least the trend calling for some quiet conditions in the east, but in the west, you'll look out for wet weather here too. Now, something to keep in mind is that this is a trend. As we get closer and closer to next weekend, we will be able to be a little more specific with exactly who's going to be getting the rain. Well, that's it for your weekend outlook. We'll have more on Hurricane George coming up next.
As Hurricane George creeps toward the Gulf Coast, we're working round the clock to keep you prepared. Expert analysis of where and when it could make landfall, next on Weather Center.
Have you ever bought a new computer, then had a question about it, and then you asked your spouse and your kid, and it was 7 o'clock, and the computer store was closed, and the guy next door who knows everything about computers was on vacation? Why not get help 24 hours a day? Go to Dell. We've won PC Magazine's award for desktop reliability and service 3 years in a row. Right now, you can get a Dell Dimension computer powered by an Intel Pentium 2 processor at 350 megahertz. You'll get a 13.6 gig hard drive with enough storage to use neat stuff like digital cameras. Plus, you'll get a 17-inch monitor, a 40x variable CD-ROM for fast access. Altec Lansing speakers with subwoofer, and it comes preloaded with Microsoft Windows 98 with Home Essentials and Money 98 to do, oh boy, taxes. It's a good thing it only costs $18.99. Dell Dimension with an Intel Pentium 2 processor at 350 megahertz. Just $18.99. To order, go directly to the source. Dell, be direct.
I believe I can call.
My Space Jam buddies and I stay in close touch with MCI's 5-cent Sundays.
5 cents a minute every Sunday.
Along with low rates all week long. Call 1-800-Sundays to become an MCI customer.
I believe I can call.
Can't get enough peanuts? Get a payday. Sweet caramel and tons of salty peanuts.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Hurricane George is bearing down on the Gulf Coast. Residents from Louisiana to Florida are preparing for the worst. And in the Northeast, we have been following a line of severe thunderstorms this evening. The latest information on that is just minutes away. Good evening, everyone. I'm Warren Madden.
And I'm Kristina Abernathy. We begin this half hour with the latest on George. And for that, we go to Mike Seidel in the Forecast Center.
And Warren and Kristina, the hurricane is now producing one of the byproducts it's often known for, tornadoes. We have a tornado warning now for Escambia County and Santa Rosa County. That's in the extreme western part of the Florida Panhandle. Now, it was indicated by Doppler radar, but nonetheless, this is a dangerous situation. 5 miles west of Milton, moving off to the west. So it will be moving from Santa Rosa into Escambia County. Look out around the areas around Pace, Pine Forest, and Gonzales in the next half an hour. So we have a tornado warning, a watch up through the overnight hours. Flash flooding is going to be likely, and the rainfalls, the totals will be prolific as the hurricane slows down. Let's get you the latest information from the Hurricane Center. As you can see, it is now moving north-northwest at 7 miles an hour, so it continues to slow down. The pressure is at 961 millibars, and that has not changed. The sustained winds have remained unchanged, too, throughout the day at 110 miles an hour. As far as where we see the hurricane warnings, they haven't changed either. The Hurricane Center has not changed these during the day. Morgan City all the way over to Panama City. This area in red is where you certainly need to avoid the coast and heed necessary evacuation orders. And stay tuned to the Weather Channel, and we will certainly keep you updated throughout the rest of tonight. West and east of there, we have a hurricane watch in Louisiana and a tropical storm warning for parts of the Florida Panhandle. And we have live team coverage. This time around, let's check in with Jim Cantore. He's in Gulfport. Kristin Dodd is in Pensacola. Now, both of the crews, we've moved away from the coast for safety reasons. Let's start it off with Kristin, who is getting battered by high wind and heavy rain tonight in Pensacola. Kristin?
Well, that's right, Mike. You have definitely said it, as Hurricane George is really unleashing its fury here in Pensacola tonight. We have extremely strong winds at this hour and very heavy rainfall. Well over 5 inches of rainfall having fallen here today, and as you can see, more of overwash. But we chose this location to give you a good idea of the pounding that Pensacola is taking at this hour as Hurricane George continues to approach the coastline. We have had numerous power outages because of this hurricane, because of the strong winds, and also we have seen many roads continue to be flooded over as we are being hit hard by all of this. Now let's join Jim Cantore.
Hey, Kristin, not quite as bad there yet, but folks, we're talking all the way from Pensacola over here to Gulfport. That is at least 100 miles. So you've got some big problems there all along the coast and all the way down to the ocean. Let me show you around here in Gulfport. As Mike, you mentioned, we did move inland. You can see here we still have power and winds are sustained at tropical storm force, but every once in a while we'll get a gust 60, 65 miles an hour. Let me take our storm cam shot now, and you can see how some of the signal lights are swaying with the winds, and that is just one of the things that you can tell when the winds really kick up. You get that constant sway. But what we're concerned about here is these winds pick up to hurricane force are all of these signs and obviously the power going out here. And so we do not want to be standing out here when that debris starts flying around, and quite frankly, we won't be. But that's the kind of situation that we're going to be painting around here when these winds begin to pick up a little bit later on tonight and tomorrow morning. Back to you, Mike.
Okay, Jim, obviously you're getting the edge of the hurricane. Kristin getting battered there in Pensacola tonight. We'll certainly keep you guys out of harm's way, and we'll keep bringing you the live coverage from the coast tonight along the Gulf Coast. Now let's go down to Louisiana and check in with, Alabama. Let's check in with J.P. Van Hook of the Mobile County Emergency Management Agency. And Mr. Van Hook, we talked to you last hour about mandatory evacuations. We're beginning to hear now there are power outages in the area.
Yes, we've started losing power recently because with the winds are picking up some, particularly around the coast. Dolphin Island's having sustained 50 to 60 mile an hour winds, and so is Bala Battery, I understand. So we're getting trees down and power lines are coming down some.
How about evacuations? Do you have a lot of people in shelters tonight?
We've probably got in excess of about 3,000 people right now. We're getting ready to open up another shelter in the north part of the county, probably because the winds haven't gotten up that high in that part of the county.
How far inland now do you have problems as far as flooding and power outages?
Most of it is still south of I-65. I-10. We do have some power outages within the city, but Alabama Power tells me that those are manageable.
Okay, Mr. Van Hook, thanks for the update. That was J.P. Van Hook with the Mobile County Emergency Management folks, and he has been keeping us updated on the situation in Mobile County across the Gulf Coast of Alabama. Let's bring in our tropical expert, hurricane expert John Hope here this evening. John, the hurricane continues to slow down, and that is certainly bad news for folks in low-lying areas.
Well, it's bad because it's going to be a prolonged period of rain, and also the pounding that they're taking from the southeast winds east of the center is going to continue to bring tidal flooding into the coast as well.
Why don't we take a look at the satellite loop, and we can show you the eye, and we can circle that area, John, and just look over the past 4 or 5 hours that it's barely moving.
It has not moved much at all. If it's moved at all, it's a little bit to the northwest, but not much.
And how about the fact that it is slowing down? What does that mean for coastal residents as far as the storm surge and the interior waters? As the tide tries to come out, it can't. You get what we term back bay flooding.
Well, they're going to get this very strong onshore winds as reported, and then you have the heavy rain, and you will have back bay flooding because the water can't escape from the bays.
What about the storm surge as we continue to get the water piling on towards the Florida Panhandle and over towards Biloxi and Gulfport?
Well, over there, the bottom bathymetry is such that they don't get quite such a high storm surge as they get back here toward Gulfport. However, they do get higher waves, so you're still going to have high water, and they are getting high waves there now. Back here toward Biloxi and Gulfport, though, toward Biloxi, the storm surge could be higher. We think it could be up 12, 15 feet, something of that order.
And we've already mentioned quite a bit of rainfall expected with this system as it slows down. And a typical hurricane that moves at about 10 miles an hour, we get about 10 inches of rain, but this one is going to be moving maybe half that speed.
Well, Kristin mentioned they'd already had over 5 inches of rain in Pensacola, and we have a report from a TV station there that they've had over 8 inches, and a lot of very serious flooding going on in the Pensacola area because of the heavy rain.
And just reiterating the tornado warning for Escambia and Santa Rosa County continuing. Again, that was Doppler radar indicated. That's up till 9:15. And rainfall totals have been prolific so far. Some of you in parts of the Florida Panhandle over towards Mobile have had upwards of 3 to 5 inches, and we had a report of from a radio station in, I believe, Pensacola of 8 inches of rain so far, and it may rain this hard for a couple of days.
Well, I certainly think it will because it's not moving, and so that rain is just going to pour rain over the same area, so the total amounts of rain could be tremendous.
And once again, we'll be following the situation. John Hope, our hurricane expert, keeping an eye on a hurricane which, much like its predecessor earlier in the season, Bonnie, is now slowing down as it heads towards the coast, and that is not good news. We'll keep you posted with more live coverage. Of course, if you're not at home or if you're away from your TV set, you can check us out at the Weather Channel online service at weather.com. Now let's go back to the studio, get the update on the severe weather in the Northeast, and of course, check in on your Monday forecast.
Thanks very much, Mike and John. This edition of Weather Center is sponsored by MCI. And away from our hurricane, the main area of concern weather-wise that we're dealing with here on Sunday night is a cold front that stretches from New England all the way down into the Plains states. And along this front, at various spots, we have been seeing severe weather here on this Sunday evening. Into New England, down into the New York metro area, then coming into Ohio, moving into southern Ohio now. And then as we move farther into the center of the country, around Wichita, Kansas, Sedgwick County under a severe thunderstorm warning at the present time. But the area most concerned here is into the northeast, where the front is pushing into some very warm and humid air, especially for this time of the year, late September. We've seen dew points in the upper 60s ahead of this front, and that is unusual for this late in the season. And we do still have severe thunderstorm watches out here across western Pennsylvania, and also that tornado watch that we mentioned here in the southern part of the United States with the effects of Hurricane George. We bring it on into the northeast, and we do have those showers and thunderstorms pushing on through the New York metro area and across Long Island and Long Island Sound right now. We've seen wind gusts up over 30 and 40 miles an hour in some cases along the Connecticut shoreline, and still seeing a lot of thunderstorms going on here over the Sound, so get ready on the eastern end of Long Island for some very stormy weather to come into your neighborhood. This is what's happening here right now, but what about as we go into the day on Monday? Let's check it out with Kristina.
We'll start you out with those low temperatures, and it's going to be a bit cool in the west, milder, and certainly muggier in the southeast. And through the day tomorrow, of course, all eyes are going to be on Hurricane George. Torrential amounts of rain, of course, battering up the coast, and a lot of windy conditions. We'll also be watching our front to the north and this area of low pressure in the west. So just a real messy scenario shaping up for you in the Four Corners region, in the south, and of course to the north, high pressure and control, so that's where some of the quieter weather will be. But certainly not here to the south, where we're expecting locally 10 inches of rain or more. That's enough to cause some big-time problems. In some areas, we'll see significantly more rain than that. Temperatures, well, they'll be warm for some of us in the 90s, but in some other areas where we're going to have the clouds and the rain, it won't be quite as warm, only in the 80s.
Telecommunications for the Weather Channel live reports are provided in part by Bell South.
Well, stay with us for continuous coverage of Hurricane George.
But first, you could be in for a rough ride if you're traveling in New York City. Details are next on TravelWise.
This program was brought to you by MCI WorldCom. Now the world is officially open for business.
I believe I can call. I think I'll use the phone in the hall.
I call my friends just to say hi.
With 5 cents Sundays from MCI.
My Space Jam buddies and I stay in close touch with MCI's 5 cent Sundays.
Just 5 cents a minute. Every minute. Every Sunday.
Along with low waits. Low rates all week long. Call 1-800-Sundays to become an MCI customer.
I believe I can call.
2 tickets, $28. 2 hot dogs, 2 popcorns, and 2 sodas, $18. 1 autographed baseball, $45. Real conversation with 11-year-old son, priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Accepted all over, even Major League ballparks.
Well, it is time now for TravelWise, but we want to give you a quick look at Hurricane George. Here's the satellite view. It's not moving very quickly at all. We haven't seen a lot of movement with it. We've got the latest coordinates here. Winds actually 110 miles per hour. It is centered about 115 miles east-southeast of New Orleans. Movement north-northwest at 7, and there's your pressure. And of course, we'll have more details on this coming up in your tropical update at 10 till and also at the top of the hour. Airport arrival delays, you can see those here on the map, and that includes you in Newark, JFK, and LaGuardia. So we definitely have some wet weather out there in the northeast, rain and storms. To the south, wet weather associated with George, and we do have the threat of severe weather, a severe thunderstorm watch in effect here, a tornado watch in effect to the south. Our travel trouble spot takes us into the northeast because of that threat of strong and severe storms, so certainly wet weather in any of the areas that we have shaded in green, and here to the south, torrential amounts of rain expected, already getting heavy rain in some areas, and for that reason, flood watches are in effect, so look out. Flash flooding is certainly a very real possibility for you. Into the northeast we go. Wet weather here, but we think tomorrow shaping up to be a little better. New York, 77, partly cloudy. Rain with George to the south. Look out New Orleans, rainy and windy with a high of 83. Chicago looking pretty quiet for you. You'll have a high of 76, partly cloudy skies. And finally to the west we go. Just Northern California where we think we'll be getting some wet weather, but through the afternoon, look out, maybe some storms scattered about San Francisco with a high of 68. So again, those strong and severe storms in these areas, especially the areas shaded in red, look out for gusts over 70 miles per hour here with George and fog reducing your visibility. Stay tuned. Your weekend outlook is coming up.
This is for anyone who looks at things
differently.
This is for the green light.
This is for Saturday night.
This is for people who want to be noticed.
This is for your dreams.
This is Pontiac driving excitement.
Now, drive more of it at the Pontiac 98 sell-down with 0.9% APR financing or up to $2,750 cash back on select 98 models. More reason than ever to see all the great 98 sell-down values at your Pontiac dealer today.
This is for me.
For
me.
Do your nasal allergies make you feel like a prisoner? Do you feel trapped indoors, especially when there's so much you want to do outdoors? Nasacort AQ nasal spray lets you take control of your nasal allergies. Nasacort AQ is a once-a-day prescription medication that goes to work right where the problem is to relieve stuffiness and runny nose. Call 1-800-762-1020 for a free allergy relief fact kit, including product information about Nasacort and a $5 rebate offer. Take control. Take Nasacort. Nasacort is non-drowsy and non-habit-forming. It has a low incidence of side effects, including headache, sore throat, nosebleed, and increased cough. Results were similar in tests with non-medicated inhalers. For best results, Nasacort must be used daily. Maximum relief may take several days. Nasacort is also available as a nasal inhaler. For more information, see your healthcare professional. Call now for product information and a $5 rebate offer.
Well, it is time now for our weekend outlook, but first, a quick look at Hurricane George. Here's your satellite view. Here are the latest coordinates, and of course, we'll have more details on George coming up at about 10 till. A look now at some averages as we head into the weekend. Some average lows, 30s and 40s to the north, 60s along the Gulf Coast, and here are those average highs. Not uncommon to see highs only in the 50s and 60s to the north and 70s and 80s to the south. Well, what about our wet weather? Are we going to see that this weekend? Well, here's the trend, just to give you a general idea of what could happen. Maybe some showers in the northwest, storms through the nation's midsection, and cooler in the northeast, especially northern New England, but still pretty warm for the southern states. And we're expecting more of the same for Sunday. Something to keep in mind is that this is a trend, and as we get closer and closer to next weekend, we'll be a little more specific with who's getting the rain. Well, stay tuned. Coming up next, Storm Watch, including your tropical update and the latest on George. Stay with us.
Is there a store between here and the Canadian border we haven't been to? Honey, I'm beat. I'm starving.
Here's something good for you.
Ensure bars?
Complete balanced nutrition. To go.
Ensure bars with protein, 24 vitamins and minerals, including calcium, vitamin D, iron, zinc, antioxidants, C and E. A source of complete balanced nutrition.
Delicious. What's next?
The Canadian border.
I'm ready.
Ensure bars. To your health.
Why are business travelers choosing Sleep Inn? The well-lit grounds, the electronic locks, the walk-in showers, complimentary breakfast, because it's a place that understands the needs of the business traveler. It's all those things, plus the service.
Hey, knock it off.
Is incredible. If you're traveling on business, stay at Sleep Inn, in a class by itself.
Sleep in a class by itself.
You can also get reliable forecasts from the Weather Channel through this radio station. Some Gulf State residents evacuate as Hurricane George threatens. Get dependable information on this devastating storm every hour and half hour only on the Weather Channel.
Is your car still running bad? Well, don't get mad. Get Motor Up, the no oil change engine treatment for a smoother, quieter, and cooler running car. Over 3 million people have already added Motor Up to their automobiles, and now you can too with our special 30-day free trial offer. Just call the number on your screen and tell the operator that you want to try Motor Up before you buy it. This is a unique opportunity for anyone who's never tried Motor Up to try it now risk-free. It's so easy. Just add 1 bottle to your car's engine, and you'll see, feel, and hear a difference almost immediately.
Without a doubt, it's definitely running cooler.
And it's running quieter.
This doesn't shake at all. Look at it.
It's definitely running smoother.
Use Motor Up and you'll get the same amazing results. And because you don't have to change your oil to add Motor Up, you'll save time and money. Before you spend more on costly repairs, call this number now. Put Motor Up to the test and see for yourself. This incredible 30-day free trial offer won't last long, so call now.
I think that people have a fascination with the weather, just like we do. And they want to get our insight into why the weather is doing what it's doing. We even show pictures.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel. I'm Kristina Abernathy. We've got some rain and some storms moving through the northeastern U.S. We'll have more on that coming up. But first, it's time for our tropical update, which is sponsored by Home Depot. And of course, all eyes are on Hurricane George. Here are the latest coordinates. George is centered at 29.3 north, 88.5 west. That puts the center about 115 miles east-southeast of New Orleans. The maximum sustained winds, 110 miles per hour, movement to the north-northwest at 7 miles per hour, and the pressure 961 millibars. We do have hurricane watches and warnings in effect. Those hurricane warnings from Panama City over to Morgan City, Louisiana, and then from there over to Intracoastal City, Louisiana, we have hurricane watches in effect. We also have the threat for tornadoes. A tornado watch in effect here, including parts of the panhandle of Florida on into southern Alabama and into Mississippi. So that is an additional concern for you. Often when we see these tropical systems, they can spawn tornadoes on land. So that's something you'll want to keep in mind in these areas. We also are expecting flooding. We are already in some areas getting tremendous amounts of rain. In Pensacola, we've had reports of up to 8 inches of rain already. and more is going to fall. This is a slow-moving system, and because of that, flash flooding is a major concern here. Some areas are going to see 10 or more inches of rain. Some areas are going to see significantly more than that. And again, that's enough to cause some big-time problems. Flooding is going to be a major concern for us here. So a look at the rain. This is what we're seeing right now. The rain, of course, already moving into the panhandle of Florida, moving into southern Alabama and into Mississippi, Mobile getting the wet weather, Pensacola, even up towards Montgomery beginning to see the rain, and New Orleans, of course, as well. And you can see the rotation here with our hurricane in the center of circulation there. So battering along the coast, already beginning to see that as well. That's going to be a problem, of course, the battering waves as well as the storm surge. So a number of concerns here as well as the winds. We've had reports of winds in some of these areas gusting to 60, 70, nearly 80 miles per hour. We are not seeing a real quick movement with this hurricane, so again, that's an additional concern. It's just going to prolong the problems, and we'll be keeping a close eye on Hurricane George for you here. A look at the big picture out there. We don't only have George, we also have Carl, and we also have Jean to look at. The latest coordinates on Carl have it centered at 39.8 north, 37.3 west, about 560 miles west of the Azores Islands. The wind's 80 miles per hour. It's racing off to the east-northeast at 38 miles per hour. The pressure 984 millibars. And Hurricane Jean, which is at 28.3 north, 41.3 west. That puts the center about 1,090 miles southwest of the Azores. Winds with this 80 miles per hour. It's moving off to the north at 17. The pressure with Jean at 983 millibars. So that's it, the latest on the tropics. Of course, we'll have more on Hurricane George coming up in Weather Center. Let's take a quick look at what's going on around the nation, though. We've got George here, but we also have some rain and storms to the north, specifically into the northeastern U.S. with this cold front and trough moving through. That's caused some rough weather for you. You can see a line of rain and thunderstorms moving from southern New England back into Ohio, where you see the yellows, the reds. That's where some of the worst of it is occurring right now. So again, we do have that threat of severe weather, not only to the south with our tornado watch, but here in western Pennsylvania, you are under a severe thunderstorm watch. So you'll want to keep an eye on what's going on here. Again, a closer view of what we're seeing, though, through southern New England, Boston, Hartford, rain and storms around, as well as back towards New York City, some soggy weather here, and on into Long Island, getting some of that rough weather as well. So you'll want to watch out for that. And where's it all going to be tomorrow? Well, we think the front is going to be clearing the northeastern U.S., but trailing back to the south, and that will be the focal point for some wet weather. Stay tuned. We'll have more on Hurricane George coming up in Weather Center. Don't go away.
Hi, this is meteorologist Jim Cantore in Gulfport, Mississippi. We continue to receive very heavy rainfall and wind. We'll keep you posted on George's progress next on Weather Center.
This program was sponsored by the Home Depot.
Home Depot is like 5 stores in one.
Well, Home Depot's ideal really is to make sure the customer gets what they need.
This is not a little hardware store. They only have 5 of one type of thing. We have 100 of one type of thing.
We're very proud of the selection we can offer people.
You're going to find name brand quality products.
It's a one-stop shopping place.
You can get all this stuff here at Home Depot.
Insulate your home with a Clopay steel garage door. Look for the HDG Premium, the 2050 Premium, and the 183 Valve Plus at the guaranteed low price at the Home Depot.
Have you ever bought a new computer, then had a question about it, and then you asked your spouse and your kid, and it was 7 o'clock, and the computer store was closed, and the guy next door who knows everything about computers was on vacation? Why not get help 24 hours a day? Go to Dell. We've won PC Magazine's award for desktop reliability and service 3 years in a row. Right now, you can get a Dell Dimension computer powered by an Intel Pentium 2 processor at 350 megahertz. You'll get a 13.6 gig hard drive with enough storage to use neat stuff like digital cameras. Plus, you'll get a 17-inch monitor, a 40x variable CD-ROM for fast access. Altec Lansing speakers with subwoofer, and it comes preloaded with Microsoft Windows 98 with Home Essentials and Money 98 to do, oh boy, taxes. It's a good thing it only costs $18.99. Dell Dimension with an Intel Pentium 2 processor at 350 megahertz. Just $18.99. To order, go directly to the source. Dell, be direct.
When a weather disaster strikes, someone's always there to help. The Weather Channel and the American Red Cross urge you to help families in need of disaster relief. Because of you, someone will always be there.
Each time a disturbance comes off the coast of Africa, we follow that until it develops into a storm or dissipates or whatever it does.
We can give you as much advanced warning as possible.
That way you're prepared and you're safe, out of harm's way.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.